Paul Ryan and I have 5 steps. First, by 2020, North America will be energy independent by taking full advantage of our oil, our coal, our gas, our nuclear, and our renewables.
It was a gigantic plume growing, and it's now basically spread, apparently, from all of, to be a larger area than Delaware and Maryland.
So I'm going to authorize a new seismic study of our onshore and offshore resources to find out what we have and where we have it. President Obama promised to begin to slow the rise of the oceans.
That's part of what we're fighting for in this election. If he knew what you'd been doing, he'd know that 20% of Iowa's electricity now comes from wind, powering our homes and our factories and our businesses in a way that is clean and renewable. In fact, over the past 4 years, we've doubled the amount of electricity America generates for wind.
And to heal the planet.
Across America, we built the equivalent of 12 new Hoover dams worth of wind energy. Think about that.
There's a big difference in energy. Look at his energy policy. What is his energy policy? It's apparently to make it hard to get coal out of the ground with more regulations, hard to use it, hard to take advantage of our oil resources, makes it harder to get the gas out of the ground. And as a result, why he's happy with wind and solar. We all like wind and solar, but you can't drive a car with a windmill on it.
Think about that. America now has enough wind turbines installed to generate enough electricity from wind to power nearly 13 million homes with clean energy. That's how we leave something better for the next generation. That's worth fighting for. That's what's at stake right now.
My promise is to help you and your family.
What was some of your symptoms that you had after the oil spill?
I had 3 seizures at the other house and 2 seizures where I live now.
Global warming. So the idea of America spending massive amounts, trillions of dollars to somehow stop global warming is not a great idea. It loses jobs for Americans, and ultimately it won't be successful.
The wind industry now supports 7,000 jobs here in Iowa, 75,000 jobs across the country.
Paul Ryan and I have 5 steps. First, by 2020, North America will be energy independent by taking full advantage of our oil, our coal, our gas, our nuclear, and our renewables.
To what's happening on the shore, it's obviously killing wildlife despite the best efforts.
Need it. I'm going to put together a 5-year leasing plan to lease offshore sources, and we're going to make as part of that the Carolinas and Virginia and the Gulf. We're going to have targets. We're going to have the companies that do the drilling responsible for hitting those targets.
By BP to cover this up, we're seeing the pictures now. Does anybody have an idea of the current extent of...
I think we may have made a mistake. We have made a mistake, is what I believe, in saying that the EPA should regulate carbon emissions. I don't think that was the intent of the original legislation. And I don't think carbon is a pollutant in the sense of harming our bodies, but I know we can agree to disagree.
Air pollution is getting worse in Beijing. Heavy smog in the city earlier this week smothered residents, sending many with lung and respiratory conditions to hospital emergency rooms. To make matters worse, Beijing residents are getting 2 conflicting air pollution reports.
I do not believe in a cap-and-trade program. By the way, they don't call it America warming, they call it global warming. So the idea of America spending massive amounts, trillions of dollars to somehow stop global warming is not a great idea.
So I want to stop giving $4 billion in taxpayer subsidies that are going to oil companies that are making huge profits and have been subsidized for 100 years, and let's keep on investing in the new homegrown energy that's creating jobs right here in Iowa. That's a difference in this election. That's why I'm running for President of the United States of America.
My promise is to help you and your family.
And then my son actually had an episode where he looked like he was having seizures, passing out. I even took him to the ER, and they just counted it as dehydration.
And My plan is that we're going to get America finally energy secure by taking advantage of our coal, our oil, our gas, and bringing in that Keystone pipeline from Canada.
President Obama is headed to the Gulf Coast again today. It is his third visit since the oil rig exploded 46 days ago. The Obama administration just slapped BP with a $69 million bill for the government's recovery efforts, and the president canceled an upcoming overseas trip to focus on the spill.
Does anyone think that stopping the pipeline from Canada that brings energy into America, that's going to do anything but kill jobs? This president on every front has made it harder for the American people to go to work. He lives in fantasy land.
These jobs aren't a fad. These are good jobs. And they're a source of pride that we need to fight for. And if Governor Romney understood what you've been doing, he'd know that we used to have to import most of the parts that were used for wind turbines. They're now being made here in America by American workers in American factories. That's not imaginary, that's real.
Because industries that are energy intensive will just get up and go somewhere else. So it doesn't make any sense at all. My view is that we don't know what's causing climate change on this planet.
Have they been proved to be safe, Mr. Coleman?
I believe they have not been proved to be unsafe, because when, as and if, any ingredient in cigarette smoke is identified as being injurious to human health, we are confident that we can eliminate that ingredient. And I concluded from that report, it's true, the babies born from women who smoke are smaller, but they're just as healthy as the babies born from women who do not smoke.
And the idea of spending trillions and trillions of dollars to try and reduce CO2 emissions is not the right course for us. My view with regards to energy policy is pretty straightforward.
On federal lands, the permitting process to actually drill and get oil or gas is extraordinarily slow.
We're at a moment right now when homegrown energy, like wind energy, is creating new jobs all across Iowa and all across the country. And guess what? Governor Romney said, let's end the tax credits for wind energy production. Let's get rid of them.
By taking full advantage of our oil, our coal, our gas, our nuclear, and our renewables.
We do not support and strongly oppose the EPA unilaterally regulating greenhouse gas emissions.
After 30 years of inaction, we raised fuel standards so that by the middle of the next decade, cars and trucks will go twice as far on a gallon of gas. We have doubled our use of renewable energy, and thousands of Americans have jobs today building wind turbines and long-lasting batteries. In the last year alone, we cut oil imports by 1 million barrels a day, more than any administration in recent history. And today, the United States of America is less dependent on foreign oil than at any time in the last 2 decades. So now you have a choice between a strategy that reverses this progress or one that builds on it. We've opened millions of new acres for oil and gas exploration in the last 3 years, and we'll open more. But unlike my opponent, I will not let oil companies write this country's energy plan or endanger our coastlines or collect another $4 billion in corporate welfare from our taxpayers. We're offering a better path